Scruffy Audio Network.
Hey, it's kind of loud in here on a Saturday morning, but my special man, B. Whitey, Brian White is in the house.
I'm here.
Brian, how are you, my man?
I'm doing it. I'm finally doing it.
Hey, that's what, you do remember that. That's on my refrigerator.
I know.
You know, Ashley, my oldest daughter, came up with that. We're finally doing it. It's kind of pretty cool. I like it. We're finally doing it.
I like it.
It's cool as hell. All right, so I appreciate you coming in for the weekend. You came in yesterday, Friday afternoon, got yourself some wood, worked out with a couple guys in here that are sitting in listening to us. One's Cooper. Soup Coop's in the house, part of the Dead Man's Dad Club. That's a whole other thing.
God,
it's my dad.
I'm just getting humbled left and right.
Whitey has both his parents. That's cool. Okay. You know what the Woodgym's about.
Yeah.
Okay. And you know why I started this podcast. It's for type A personalities that never settle, never surrender, always on the go, always trying to get better.
Never happy.
Right? Going to sleep, trying to think how they get better, waking up, how they get better. You know what I'm talking about, right, Ben? Okay, Benny. Benny's in the house. Ben's our producer. He looks like Burt Reynolds.
I like Ben.
Yeah, Ben's cool. He doesn't say much. He's that silent assassin that's packing some heat. All right, so this podcast is going to be great because it's B. White, Pennington, Helton, all my guys that I'd love to have on there. I already had Harrison on, but, you know, he's still doing it.
He's still doing it.
You know, all you guys are done. So let's go back. How many years have we been together?
96.
96, all right, and we're 2019. All right, so I'm going to open up the show with one question. When did you know that you were different?
I actually thought about this on the right end. Honestly, it was in here. Honestly, it was, if you back up to when I was 17, 18 years old, and you think about Knoxville, and you think about what kids do, and you think about the lake, I was always here. And I didn't get why people didn't want to be here or didn't want to work hard. And I always look back at my high school. My high school memories are here. They're not the lake. They're not. And I went out hard, and I lived my life, but I was always here. And I never got why people wouldn't come with me, right? So you look back and you look at what was ingrained in you back when you were in high school, and like I think that's when I knew I was the guy that was meeting you here at 2 a.m. because that's what, you know, I think at that point in time, that's when we were going through the whole testosterone thing and when was the best time to work out, and I would meet you at 2 a.m. And my parents would just, they'd be like, go for it. They didn't set the alarm. They didn't make breakfast. They're like, go for it. And none of my friends did that. And I think as it progressed and as I look at where I am today, it's just no one's doing it. And it just kind of, you feel isolated. And I told you that recently, listening to the podcast, you listen to this podcast and you almost start to feel normal again because you're hearing people that have the same thought process and the same approach that I've tried to implement. Not the best, but I've tried to implement through life, and I think that's it. So I think it's where you started and where it's gone, right?
Yeah, and I'll give you something to, you know, pack in your side pocket today and drive home with. How you do one thing is how you do everything. And
it transfers. It's
and
not
watching
one
you
thing.
last night at the house, and other people didn't notice that last night because they can't roll the big dogs. We were the last ones up. And I said, hey, Whitey, I'm going to bed. And I hear him in the kitchen, and he's cleaning up the whole kitchen. But that's who Brian White is, you know. And as a father, and as a husband, and as a business guy, you've always been there. You know, you're that guy, and whether it's your parents or just some DNA that Louis Simmons talks about that comes out that way, you're that guy that's like, I can't wake up to a dirty kitchen.
I wake up excited. Like, people always give me a hard time because I'm never smiling. And the reality is I am extremely happy Like, I look back at life, look at what's taken place, what I've been able to accomplish, what I haven't accomplished.
Well, let's take back to the accomplishments of, a all-state, all-stud, Webb private school football player. It's the best school in Knoxville.
Of course.
Okay.
Yeah.
You came to me as a sophomore in high school. I think from Atlanta. Did you come from Georgia? Where'd you guys come from when you moved here?
Yeah, Atlanta.
Yeah. And, Coop, he had to get some humble pie, too, because he was shooting out some pretty big numbers when he walked in the gym. And as Tracy Hayworth said, the Detroit linebacker I train, Charlie don't humble you. The weights do. So, that we put him on some numbers, and they weren't where they were. But now I had to break him like I had to break everybody else and go, this is where you are, and this is where I could get you. And, he went on to have a hell of a high school career, and then went on to the University of Virginia and played football there, and then with the Jets, and then with NASCAR. So this guy has done it all. What makes you keep going? What makes you the 24/7, no days off type guy?
If I look back over, like, my life, my career, I've never been the most athletic, but I always knew I could outwork, right? And I think that was instilled in here. It's like I could outwork anyone. And so whether it's like football, it's NASCAR, it's business, that's what gets me up.
Yeah, but you own the outwork thing, and you're a very talented athlete. I mean, you were 240 pounds or 237, whatever it was. You ran your 4.68 at pro day. You came in
4.57.
You're a fast guy. Yeah. Excuse me.
There's not a lot
40s
I can hold on to.
Inches are always big things in guys' heads. You know what I'm talking about, Ben? All right. So, you're a very talented athlete, so let's not talk about the hard worker guys that that's me. I'm the hard-working guy with no talent. You're the talented guy that put in some hard work. So, you graduated what year from Webb High School?
2001.
2001. And then your NASCAR gig was for how long?
7 years.
That was 7 years. Now, that was a grind. So why don't you, I don't even know the audience that's sitting in the office right now could talk about the grind of NASCAR and working full-time. Doing what? What do you do for a living? I still don't know. Why don't you tell everybody what you do for a living?
Commercial real estate.
And
Very
you must
sexy.
be doing good because you got a really sexy Denali with black rims on there.
It's all an act.
I mean, I like riding in with all my guys that come see me. It's so much better than the vehicles I drive. Thank you for the ride in yesterday and today.
Just for you.
All right, so enlighten all the viewers and listeners and the people that are in the office listening to a grind when you were in your net. You went to Virginia, you played with the Jets, you got out of that. You were like, all right, Chaz, can I stop playing football? I remember you calling me on the way back from getting released from the Jets going, can we stop this dream you had for me in high school? I'm like, all right, shut it down. Back surgery. You went through some serious shit. So then you get into NASCAR and you're pretty heavy into it.
Yeah.
All right, so a week of NASCAR, and what do you do for a living?
Commercial real estate.
Commercial real estate.
All right, so if you back up, I'll take one step back. So get done with Virginia. Wasn't the best career. Tried, worked hard, grinded through it. Had some good games, had some good years, but tried to make a run at the pros. Was in here. I'd gotten approached by Roger Penske Racing, and it was at a time in NASCAR where it used to be the mechanics worked on the cars and they'd pit the cars, and there was an evolution taking place where they were recruiting ex-athletes, guys that were just getting out of college, getting out of the pros to pit a car. Didn't have to know anything about a car. You just had to learn how to pit a car. And so if you remember this, I was coming in here. I was here training for the combines. Mm-hmm. I'd leave on a Tuesday night, drive through the night, get to Mooresville, North Carolina in the morning, learn how to pit a car, get back in the car after 4 hours there, drive right back here and start training. And I think some could argue like, hey, I was already planning for the next move, and was I 100% committed? And I was 100% committed, but I think one of the better traits that people have to have is ability to pivot. Right? Shit happens in your life, right? Things are going to happen. And I think like if you look at some of the best people out there, it's ability to pivot. Like things are going to go wrong, things are going to go right, but ability to pivot from whatever that is, I think is a critical thing, right?
Do you mind if I put that on my shirts?
You can trademark that.
Thank you.
But went up to the Jets. had an awesome camp, didn't make it, was what it was, too small, too slow, too white, whatever you want to call it. I think if you talk to any ex-athlete, one of the hardest times is when you learn you're no longer an athlete, right? To what you were known, everyone knew me as the football player. That was who I was. And when you start to realize that's not who you are going forward, that's tough. And I remember sitting on your back porch talking about it, going like, what am I going to do? So long story short, went to NASCAR. And on a parallel path started in the business world, right? So moved to Charlotte, didn't know anyone, living in a crappy apartment, eating tuna fish, V8 juice, like had no money.
Were you married then?
No.
Were you single?
Single, didn't know anyone, didn't have any friends.
All right, we'll wrap that around too, so yeah.
Yeah, so, but it was a time in my life to grind, right? Like everyone talks about that time in your life, like 18 to 22 is when you grow the most. Like, I don't believe that. I think that it's that 22 to 28 is when you become who you are.
You listening, Coop?
It's just for you.
Grinding.
Yeah. But so at that point in my life, I was doing NASCAR. So best way to describe it is it's a part-time job. So you practice at that point in time in NASCAR, you practice 2 days a week, Tuesday, Thursday at night, and then you'd fly out on a jet 4 o'clock Sunday morning, and you'd go pit the car.
Now, I'm going to put some insight with this because Brian is very smart, understands everything, kind of a flatliner on the microphone, so I always have to bring him up. I bet you guys don't understand why he flies out Sunday and not a Thursday or Friday when all the cars are there going through the weekend. Because it took me a minute to understand. I'm like, why in the hell do you just fly out on Sunday mornings? Okay, Brian, you want to tell us?
You want me to tell you? I didn't know if you were going to lead into that. So I was purely on the pit crew, right? So if you look at NASCAR, you got mechanics, and it's kind of two separate teams. Guys that work on the car and guys that pit the car.
Right.
Guys that pit the car know nothing about the car.
Right.
Like, I still don't know how to change my own oil.
Right.
I was in NASCAR for 7 years.
You were an athlete running around. He was a car jack guy. He was that guy.
Yeah.
Jack man.
So I would fly out at 4 o'clock on Sunday morning, get to wherever on the East Coast or west.
But how do you fly out on Sunday morning when they're practicing and qualifying Friday, Saturday?
So that's all about the car. It's all about the car. So
Did you ever notice they don't need a jack? If you watch the qualifying on practice, watch this weekend, watch today. If they're doing Sunday race today and you turn on Fox Sports 1 or whatever, there's no jacks. The jack guys aren't there.
So at a simplest of level, pit crew's there to change the tires and refuel the car. So if you look at practice or qualifying, that's 1 laps. You don't need new tires. You don't need new gas. And so our group was purely race day only. So we'd hop on Roger Penske. Every one of these racing teams have a fleet of jets. And so we had a jet for us. And it would pick us up at 4 o'clock in the morning on Sundays, fly out, get to the race. It can be East Coast. It can be West Coast, wherever you are. And get to the racetrack, set up, and you're there to pit the car. And it's, from the simplest of level, you are jumping out in front of 43 cars going 55 miles an hour. So if you look at like the transition from football to NASCAR, it was awesome for me because I lost my team, I lost my identity. NASCAR became that like transition for me of still having a brotherhood, still having something in my life that kept my edge, right? But so you get to the racetrack and your job there is to pit the car when it comes in. And it's 12 seconds of chaos. And I liken it to like special teams, right? And that's what I did in college. At the end of the day, I was good at special teams. And you got 50-something plays on defense. I had 7. And you can't mess it up. You can't screw it up. And that's what pitting a car is. You got 12 seconds of complete chaos. And there's no softness in NASCAR, right? You don't have grass. You got fuel. You got brakes that are so hot that they're translucent. You got car, you got exhaust fumes, and you're jumping out in front of this car that's going to stop. You hope it does, and if it doesn't, it's hitting you. You're pitting the car. Not only you focus on the one car that you're working on, you got 42 other cars that are swerving in and out. They're brushing you. They're bumping you, and it's all to get you off your rhythm. And so effectively what you do is you pit the right side of the car. You run around and you pit the left side of the car. 4 tires, new set of new tank of gas, jump back over the wall, and he's gone. It's good times.
That's really cool. That is cool. So that grind was instilled.
Yeah. So
like the week because you'd always call me and go, I'm so tired on Monday. Oh my gosh, I got in at 3 a.m. And then, and then you're back to this grind. So where you are now, being so successful at 37.
Thank you.
Well, I think you are. And I'm very proud of you being who you are and what you're doing. You got to give up to go up. You were paying the price of that Sunday of 2 or 3 a.m. Then sometimes, if it was a delay, Soup Coop, paying attention, and they had a rain out Sunday, it rolled over. He's really taking notes. So be on your A game. It ran over to Monday. Then it started interfering with your work.
Yeah, to that point.
Take us through that.
To that point, so after the race, it's a race to get back to the jet. And if you're West Coast, or if you're East Coast, you're home by 10, 11 o'clock at night. West Coast, you're home at 6 o'clock in the morning. So if it was West Coast, my suit was packed in my car. That was back in the days when I actually wore a suit and tie. And I would get back to my car, drive to the YMCA in my building, shower, put on my suit, go to work.
So no sleep?
No sleep. And that was 38, 40 weekends a year. I had no fam. I mean, I had my family, but no girlfriend, no kids. I was grinding. And if it was a rain delay, and so this is when my world didn't work, right? So I was trying to combine two lives, which we've always talked about. You can't serve two gods. And to be good at what you do, it's one thing. It's a singular focus, right? But
deep
for
and
7
narrow.
years,
deep
and narrow. But for that 7 years, it was both for me. And for me, and I hate to admit it was about the money. Right, it was a well-paying job. It paid very well, and for me to grow my career in commercial real estate, I was making my money on the weekends too. Rain delays were a different story. When rain delays would take place, I'd hop back on the jet. Sometimes, if I could talk to the pilot into take me back, fly back to Charlotte, go straight to work through the night. Because this is 2000, right? So computer, cell phones, all that stuff. Work through the night. Get back on the plane at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning on Monday, fly to the race, and then fit the car, fly home, and get back to work. So it was 7 years, 38 weeks a year, grind.
Yeah, and just watching you do it. When I went to the Bristol race with them, took the girls, that was awesome. Another transition from this unbelievable high school football player to the football guy he was at Virginia, to the Jets, to the NASCAR, and then you're always like, what's next for him? And then he was always, if you'd noticed his parallel, as you were talking about, when he was doing the combine training, you were doing the NASCAR. Yeah. When you're doing the NASCAR, you're doing the commercial real estate.
Yeah.
Is that right?
That's correct.
So it seemed like you were always prepared. It wasn't like, what's next? You knew what was next because it was still, I would say, still a deep and narrow. You know what I'm saying? Well, the one thing Whitey is, and I always have to pick him up, he's one of the most real guys I know about where he is, who he is, and what he's doing and what he's not. And that's the big thing that a lot of people don't get, especially in this world at the Woodgym with athletes, is what they're not good at. Nobody addresses what they're not good at. They always want to talk about the highs of their strengths, of what they're good at, instead of going, what am I not good at? So I don't waste my time with that. Or what am I not good at? And let me see if I could get better at it.
I use the word anxiety, and I use it in a broad term, but that's what keeps me. That's what keeps you going. That's what you go to bed thinking about what didn't go well that day and how you get better. And it goes back to like the happiness part. And I have business partners that give me such a hard time, and I want to make it sure that everyone knows this. I'm extremely happy with where I am, what I've done, but I'll never be content. And I think that's healthy, right? I think that's healthy, but it also keeps you from getting stuck, right? Because I think that's one of those other things where I don't know if it made me different or I felt different, but the guys that I was going through the camps with, when you talked about what's next, no one had a what's next. Mm-hmm. And it goes back to like either you're all in or all out, and I think there's truth to that and there's false to that, but I knew what my next was. And then you get into NASCAR, and all my buddies in NASCAR, there was no next. They couldn't see the finite period that they were living in, right? And I don't know if it's just inherent or was taught to me, but I've always thought about the next, right?
Well, see, and I'm glad, and I always say this, and this is my 37th or 38th podcast, almost a year this next month in November, of a year of podcast shows. I've known you for 22 years. We put on a microphone and we talk there's things that I don't know that I find out from you to Helton to Pennington to Harrison to Dobbs, all these guys that live with me and train with me. This is amazing because we really don't get this. Even in the car coming to the gym, we're breaking balls and getting ready, and then we're at the house. We have people there last night and watching the game, and we're really not sitting down and rapping. I want to hit on that. The what's next is good. That's what's next, is seeing a future for another goal that you want to accomplish. I don't believe, like you were talking about, I don't believe in plan B.
Yeah.
See, there's a difference. Yeah. There's a good parallel with that, because plan B means I plan to fail on what I'm trying to do. Yeah. And then I don't know what's next, because everybody's like, you have to have something you didn't fall back on anything. You were realist with 2 kick-ass goals. It doesn't have to be like, if I don't make football, I'm working at Walmart.
Yeah, I mean,
you see what I'm saying?
No, I totally agree. I mean, I just
I never had a plan B. There wasn't even a you were actually smarter than me. If I didn't make it, there wasn't a plan B.
Well, it's fall forward, right? I mean, how do you always fall forward?
Yeah, but you didn't fail to anything. You accomplished all the goals that you set out to do, and then went into another thing. See, you're different than all the guys I've had on here. Like Harrison Smith still playing professional football.
Yeah.
A Chad Pennington played 10 years in the NFL. A Todd Helton 17 years. Okay, so you're the guy that more people can relate to. I know Soup Coop sitting here going, I know when he sees me next, whether it's Monday, going, that Brian White special, because he's different. He's not collecting paychecks on Tuesday.
It just wasn't a part of it. It wasn't my opportunity, right?
I mean, got me crying, damn it,
dude.
Dad, I miss you.
I look back and I see all the guys in here, and there is a complete part of me that wanted it more for you than for me, right? To have that success and to be able to brag on that stuff, but there's also a reality to life, right? And that was my reality, right? I mean, and I look back and I'm very proud of it, because I got to where I wasn't good enough. Like, get me to a point where, like, you can honestly tell me I'm not good enough. And that's kind of an okay point, right? Like, I'm okay with that, right? I look back at the NFL and I'm like, shit, like, if I gotten on the right team, could I have made it 2 or 3 years on special? Probably. But, like, I got to a point where, like, I reached a max, I believe, right? And then the NASCAR stuff was a little bit different. It was more of an opportunity to make money, but it was also it played out to be like the transition for me, right? Because what people don't talk about a lot, which I always harp on, is like, it is really hard to transition from being a professional athlete. Like, imagine, I always give this example, imagine being an attorney for 13 years, waking up, getting dressed, putting on the suit, walking in the office, and someone meets you at the door and you're like, guess what? You can't be an attorney. You can't practice law forever. Go find something else. And people don't talk about that transition, right? You talk about these athletes and you commit everything in your life. I mean, you look at everything, all the days I spent in here, and I was committed, right? But I woke up one day and I wasn't good enough. And that was a tough part. I mean, I remember sitting on your back porch going like, what am I going to do? Where am I going? How am I going to pivot? What's my next pivot? So, I mean, for NASCAR, it was an unbelievable experience. It was a complete rush. There's nothing like jumping out in front of a car that's going 60 miles an hour, getting brushed by the other 42 cars. Like, that was cool. That was a great transition. But I knew it was just it was a moment in time. It was a phase. And Holly and I were talking about this yesterday. I do look back and I'm like, I'm kind of a phase guy. And unfortunately, and I hate to, it took me 10 years to get back here, right? I mean, we talk every day, every week, but once a phase is done, I don't look back. Like, NFL, college football was what it was. It was awesome. I don't feel comfortable going back. Like, I don't feel comfortable. I've gone back to 2 games, and I don't go in the locker room. I don't go to the alumni hall. I mean, I take my girls because I want them to see the experience, but, like, that was a phase that's over.
Wow.
NASCAR's over, right?
Yeah, so take me, when did you, I know we talked some on the phone of, like, this is getting to where I'm losing some professional level with my business to NASCAR. Yeah. When did you go, okay, because it seemed, you hit on something there as a phase guy, because I actually agree with you 100% that you could actually self-diagnose yourself as a phase guy, because you were like, okay, NASCAR's enough.
Yeah.
And then you transition into that.
Yeah, I mean, and again, there's complete parallels when I actually look back and think about it. But there was I was prepared for the influx point. There was going to be an influx point at some point in NASCAR where personal and professional became conflicted, right? And I've had 3 partners in my life for the last 10 years in business, and we were partners together when I was in NASCAR, and there was a complete commitment to them. Like, guys, if you see a conflict, you got to tell me. You got to tell me. I will drop it tomorrow. Like, I'm not going to risk our partnership for self-glory and my own money on the weekends, right? But ironically, it was more personal than professional. It was my wife. So I was married, or my wife and I got married. My beautiful wife, Erin.
When you were with Erin, I mean, were you dating her when you're still doing NASCAR?
So, quick story. So we dated in college.
You did?
We did.
I did not know that.
I
did.
Dated in college. It's just, again, it's like the pivot point or transition in life. But she was getting her master's in education. I was trying to figure out football. We broke up. It wasn't the right time, right place. But 4 years later, we got back together. And ironically, and I'm going to hate to admit this, and she's going to probably punch me in the throat when I say this, but I feel like I've married my female Charlie.
Well, that's funny you say that, because that's one of my questions. How did you know Erin was me?
It's
on there.
I mean,
right there.
That's unbelievable. And it's funny, and she loves you, and she knows how much you mean to me in my life. But I've never met someone that grinds harder than I do. And there were so many parallels with you and her, with her own business.
She's a straight dog, and like I said, I've been wanting her on. She's like, I can't get on. There's no way. She's
nervous.
Well, I mean, because she's a straight grinder, bro. I mean, started her own jewelry thing how long ago? I can never say that word.
Jewelry, yeah.
You're struggling.
I am struggling. Well, I can't say my hours either.
She was me, but without sports, right? There's stories of her in high school. Y'all will get a kick out of this. She lived in Hampton Roads, Virginia, and this was back when Fish was big, a big hippie band. She would go to their concerts and set up grilled cheese stands in the parking lot and make thousands of dollars.
No way.
Yeah, so
that's a damn cool story. Yeah. She definitely needs to share that.
She is.
We could do a phone one.
I think
a phone podcast.
I'll get her in here
because she's always a hustler. I mean, almost
to
the level of you got to take a TV time out. Well, is she your age?
Yeah, same age, and I think it goes back to the different. And I think that's probably one of our biggest struggles with where we are is society, normal, things whatever, country clubs, X, Y, and Z, go to the beach. It's just, we're different. And, I wake up at 4:15 every morning, and guess who's already in the studio working? It's just weird. But I think it's there's a normalcy that I feel in here when I come back, because I've never met a grinder like her. I mean, she's up at 4. She'll work till 2 o'clock in the morning. It's all her. The business dies when she sleeps, and it wakes when she wakes up, right? And it's the same thing for you.
Yeah. So, the parallel with her is really cool. And to get to that next level from the transition from your commercial real estate to super dad. I mean, because, she wears me out on her stories just going, does anybody rest there? This guy needs a break. She needs a break. How do you get into, I want to marry you and I want to have 3 girls?
There's so much estrogen in my house these days.
Is the bulldog a male?
A female.
Oh, you're just like me.
I need a male snake.
You know what you need?
What's that?
A good pussy.
Yeah, you got one.
I got the best kitty in the world.
Low
maintenance. Pet her once in a while, feed her.
That's all you need. No, so it goes back to the transition. She was the influx point. As much as I thought I was going to be a professional flux where I knew I had to move on, it was her, and it was too much. I was gone 40 weekends a year, and it wasn't healthy.
How long you been married?
Going almost 10 years. Next year's 10 years.
I was in his wedding.
He was.
Now, he did learn, because he's been around me so long when he was in high school and college. All these different pro athletes would ask me to their weddings. And it would be like Saturday morning, and he would be, Whitey would go, hey, doesn't so-and-so have his wedding today? Aren't you supposed to go? I'm like, yeah. I'm going to just sit in here. I'm not going to go. So Chad Pennington, and Brian White were the only two that were like, you're in my wedding. Because you're going to watch you get married.
You're my guy, man.
Yeah. And that was amazing. I mean, that was unbelievable, wasn't it? That was nice. That was a beautiful spread up there. What was the name of that place?
Veritas Vineyards, Charlottesville, Virginia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then where did I stay?
Boar's Head.
Oh, that was nice.
That was nice.
That was nice.
You looked beautiful in the tux.
Hey, it was good.
I need to bring a picture.
Yeah. I mean, that was 10 years ago. Are you finished with kids?
Yeah. I have had the procedure.
Oh, that's right. Done. We talked about that in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that was some issues.
That was fun. So you're that guy.
I'm the 1%.
Yeah.
I'm the 1%.
I'm just not getting snipped.
You don't need to.
No.
You're good.
51.
Yeah.
It's done.
Don't do it.
Yeah. I mean, it's over. All right. So your ability to pivot. Okay. Where is the next? What's next for Brian White? I
don't know. I got some ideas.
But you do.
Of course.
Yeah. This is a phase that you're happy with right now.
I'm extremely happy. I'm not content, and I'm always looking. I always look at the next phase, and and this is a whole different topic, a whole different day. But if you look at the disruption that's taking place in business in general, there are disruptive factors that are going to impact my business just like everyone else's business. If you're not seeing it, you're going to be in trouble. There's a next phase. I don't know when it hits or what it'll be, but there's a next phase.
But you've always seemed so. You played this way too, from linebacker, from high school to college, and we always have to have those guys. One linebacker's like me, screaming, and the other one's a flatliner like you.
Thank you.
And that seems like everything's even keel. You know what I'm saying? The plane could be going down, and I'd be like, "Hey, the plane's going down." And I'd be like,
I don't let the highs get too high and the lows get too low.
I love that one.
It's just, but I think that goes back to, and this was talked about on one of your podcasts. If you keep things simple, you can keep things focused. Mm-hmm. And what I saw from you and what I saw from my dad, it was, and I remember specifically growing up and seeing all these dads in the bars and like, I want my dad to be cool, or why isn't Charlie in the bars? And like, you look back and I look at me now and like, it's really simple. It's like my wife, my family, which includes Petrone Gym. I mean, that's my family, and it's business. There's nothing else, and it's kind of boring, probably.
Oh, wait a minute. So you're saying you don't have two or more hobbies, because that leads into Dr. James Chu and our show that we're doing, where we have some Petrone people that like a lot of hobbies are good, and I beg to differ.
My one hobby's the gym,
and that's it.
That's it.
So you're content, happy, love your life. Family, work, gym, some type of movement every day. I mean, I watched you last night, a couple glasses of vino, and then you were basically done.
I've had that phase, man. I've had that phase, and like my morning's too important. Like the value in a full day is more important than the value in a big night. Does that make
that?
Wow,
hey, Coop, put that one in your notes. I'm going to take that one.
It kind of goes back to where I called you and I told you, like, man, the podcast kind of makes me feel normal, because you get in those scenarios at night and you're like, God, what's wrong with me? Why am I always ducking out at 9 or 10? And Aaron and I are the same way. It's like, I want to experience things. I want to go have friends and see people. But 9 o'clock, I'm good, But I also think it goes back to, like, I've had the phase. I know what happens from 10 to 2. That's not me anymore, And there's too much value in the 4 a.m. Right? There's too much value in the grind when it starts the next morning, and that's what's important to me, right? And that's where it keeps simple. And I guess it's normal. At least I
Well,
feel normal
I mean,
now.
you know, why be normal? Remember, I used to have those shirts that said normal was upside down. I got that from an overseas weightlifter. He used to wear a shirt saying, why be normal? And it was upside down. And then working with my therapist is there is no normal.
No.
You know, everybody's working with different things. But that 4 o'clock in the morning, that 4:15, that 4:30, there's something to say about that. When you are where we are, we're not saying Coop. We get Coop. He's a senior in
And I was
college.
there
He's
too.
going hard. We get it.
Yeah.
He
I was
comes
there
in
too.
here from a full night and works out. We get it, Coop. But yeah, the other way of the canvas is empty, however you want to say, life is going to get you, so you got to get your mind right.
Yeah.
I understand that. So 37, I'll give you another. Where do you see yourself in 10 years? You're 47 years of age.
Man, I can't predict it. I think most important, it's like the family, right? I hope I'm in here in 10 years. I hope we're still talking, we're still texting. I hope that I still have the core. You know, I always talk about like the core within the core. There's always a core group within the bigger core, and I hope the core that I have today is the same core I have tomorrow, right? And I hope my family's good. I hope my daughters are healthy, my wife's healthy. You know, the business thing, I mean, I think if I don't know if I have the ability to look that far, like, you know, but the one thing I do believe in, I believe in the grind, right? I believe in the, like you've always said, grind hard, stay humble.
Yeah,
know?
well, humility is a huge thing. You know, think you're good, but don't think you're great. That type of deal. Okay, so one question. I got 3 questions I end with the show. These are new. Started yesterday, so I don't think Coop has heard these. What's the best advice you'd be given, and how has that influenced your life? What's the best advice you've been given, and how has it influenced your life? It could be short. It doesn't have to be long.
God, that's a tough one. I don't know if it's advice. I think it's approach, right? Like, I think you taught me an approach in here that's transitioned within my life, and it's truth, right? Like, you're always going to know the truth. Now, whether you speak it or you act it, it's a different thing, and you're going to fool a lot of people, but you're not going to fool yourself, right? And I mean, again, there's been a lot of stuff that you've and other people have taught me over the years, which has truly impacted me. I'm one of those guys that will suck in or take in every advice that people give me. And then I think at the end of the day, you kind of formulate what is impactful to you and what's relevant to you. But when you started off the show on this, the iron never lies. Well, that's kind of like, and I'm not going to compare like the weights to life, but like that, there's truth in life, right? And like if you stay within the truth and you stay within yourself, like I think that's where the simplicity comes, right?
Wow. Yeah. I'm not even going to ask you the other 2 questions.
Ask me. I want to hear them.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
I mean, because that was nice. I didn't know you were this.
I'm deep.
Well, I didn't know you had.
I'm a kid's pool, but I'm still deep.
Because I always see him as Whitey. Web guy. I mean, he's a web guy.
I think you know what you are and you know what you're not.
All right. Well, I just put down the answer truth. And I do like the way he said people even know the truth but walk around basically what he's saying, living a lie that they don't want to embrace their truth. Truth, what they are. Nobody really wants to look at that. And I guess I'm on that kick this month about self-awareness, self-check, the real mirror, you against you. You know, you got to start with yourself first before you can look at anybody else. And even working with relationships, and I think you did it the right way, is you came as a full circle. Aaron came as a full circle, and then you became one instead of half, trying to complete that other person that asked to be the full circle.
I knew myself before. I mean, I've changed, but I knew myself before we got back together.
Yeah, and I just started to know myself this last year. Hi, me. I'm Charlie.
Hello. Hello.
All right, second question. Given the journey you've been on, what's the one piece of advice you pass out to our listeners? Listen, Coop.
And I'm going to go on my little diatribe because at this point in my career, I meet with a lot of people that are 20, 22, 24, 28. And you talk about the whole millennial population and everyone rags on them. And I look at it for them. I'm like, God, that's your opportunity. If everyone isn't expecting a lot because you're a millennial, that makes it even easier for you to exceed, right? I mean, that's like good. take advantage of it, like embrace it, and then you're only going to surprise people more.
Why? Because what are you saying, that they're not expecting a lot from the millennials?
Yeah,
Is that what you're saying?
You talk about to get disappointed. I mean, you expect something out, and I feel bad saying this, but you expect something out of that generation, like you're going to be disappointed. But that's also an opportunity to be different, right? And
that's a great point.
I mean, and it sounds so cliche, but I promise you, it's what I live by. I think it's to grind hard, stay humble, and ability to pivot. I think ability to pivot is such an unspoken thought, belief, phrase, that because shit happens, like good and bad happens, right? But like ability to move from that is critical, because the guys that can't and girls are the ones that don't go forward, right? I mean, I think it's the grind, enjoy it, embrace it, be different, but it's the ability to pivot.
The ability to pivot. So would ability to pivot also be, because you find this with the millennials, the work ethic? Do you think that's gone?
I think they don't understand what that definition is.
That's great.
You know, like and I get, and I wish you could see me in business, and I promise you I stay true to the core, but I believe in the simplicity of success, right? I mean, you don't have to be the smartest guy, but outwork people. Be in there early, stay late, like, perception's reality.
Well, yeah, I mean, those are all the things that I've ingrained in you and your father and your mother. You come from a great family, but that's not what we're living in now. What is everybody getting paid to do right now? Influencer, ambassador. So they're making money having to, wait a minute, I got to get this post up. And nobody's really working and grinding, and they're not even feeling the blood flow through their body that goes when you wake up early and get it done.
Well, they see you, and they don't have the ability to see what you did to get there.
Oh, well,
and that's like it's like you sit there and you're like, dude, you do not see the last 10 years of my life, right? And I used to always be that guy at work at 6:45, and I would stay later. And any person that was higher than me, I would not leave. Right, and sometimes that meant twiddling my thumbs, but like there was a perception tied to that, and I'm in a different phase in my family, and I don't get there as early as I should. But I look at these kids in our office, and they're trying to base their life off of me, and I'm like, you're in the wrong phase, man. Like
yeah, they're looking at your life, yeah,
and they don't see the phase before it,
right?
And
right.
I think that's what so many of these millennials see. Is they see like. Yeah. Where we are all today, and they don't understand the phase we went through to get there.
Right. And we'll take that a deep, and we have people in here that are saying everybody thinks it looks easy what you do because they see me come in here and put on the red nose and become a clown. They have no clue what it takes to run this business. I see that all the time. Yeah, we got a special kid out there named Jeffrey that thinks it's that easy doing it. I'm going to brand this guy. This guy's going to make $1 billion after this year's done with him. Is everybody comes through here with their internships, or they want to mirror me and go, yeah, I want to do what you do. I want to train pro athletes for a living. And they have no clue what that takes. They have no clue what the pressures are of training a pro athlete. They have no clue that you don't make your living off a pro athlete. They have no clue how to, as Chad Pennington would say, keeping the light bill on for 29 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
No,
okay,
totally
third
agree.
one.
Totally
Third
agree.
one. I know everybody's got to go. We got to...
I can talk for hours.
This is nice, but hey, you got fatherly duties. To get this guy in here for 20... Well, it wouldn't even be 24 hours. Because he got in here about 3 o'clock yesterday. I mean, to take this time, because he's moving in 8 billion directions. He makes it look easy.
Be where your feet are.
Where
your feet are.
Yep. Where you are is where your feet are, Ben. Ben always just stares at me once in a while, doesn't he? It's like
he's in awe.
I don't know if he's in awe. He's just eyeing up that last chicken biscuit. All right, number 3 is great. What absolutely excites you right now?
The possibility. And it goes back to your first question, where I can't define where I'm going to be in 10 years, right? But the grind is fun. I mean, I think if you embrace the grind and you enjoy the grind, like that's what gets me up. And it's old school. I love the fact when, when I start talking to someone in business at 8:00, that I know I got 4 hours on them. And sometimes it's that simple. But that's like, I already got you. Like I already got 4 hours on you, man. What excites me is this. It's you. It's family. It's what my daughter's going to be in 10 years. What my marriage is going to be in 10 years. Where my business is going to be. And but the fear of failure is real, man. And that's what I think it keeps you going. And I think it's what teaches you that today's not, and this is cliche, but today's not going to be tomorrow, and you're not going to know what tomorrow is, right? So you got to, it's the step forward, right? It's each day, it's each night, it's just kind of grinding.
Well, you're talking about the millennial, and I know we could get off on 8 billion subjects here, but hard work, you're talking about grind. Hard work is fun. It's awesome. Is fun. And people are like, oh, it's hard work. I don't want, that's the friction is what makes you grow. It's that's why I take it back to weight training. I take it back from my English professors. You can't judge me if the weight is moving. I'm stronger.
Well, and you need bad times to grow, right? And I think that's what's wrong right now is like everyone's so focused on making their decisions to ensure good, right? So like whereas like some decisions have to risk and like have to be a potential of bad. And, like, the bad sucks, but that's where you grow, right? And, I know those are typical cliches, but, like, that's the simplicity, right? It's not that hard.
But hard work is, like, fun. That's all I'm saying. It's fun.
When I hear people talk about, like, I can't sleep, man. It takes me 30 minutes to go to bed. I'm like, man, it takes me 2 minutes.
Work harder.
Yeah, right. Be up earlier.
Work harder. Yeah. I didn't make the team. Be better.
Yeah. Yeah. If you can't sleep at night,
I didn't go to that school. You weren't good enough.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. Be better.
Yeah.
Hey, let's wrap this up. I know everybody's got to go, but I do want to say one thing that was super cool that you made it happen for me is Kobe Bryant. You got me tickets on the floor to Kobe Bryant his last year to Charlotte, and I wasn't going to go.
I know
and you're like, I already bought the tickets. You're like Luke Hochaver, Game 5 World Series champion, was like, I got your tickets. You're coming up. You got to pull me out of here.
That's fun.
That was awesome times. I got to watch the Mamba. My guy. If you ever watch Muse, his documentary of what type of badass he is with his mental approach, it's amazing. And it's out there. And people could be that. Changing the light. Flipping the switch. You could do that. And I think that's what this whole podcast was about is do you. Go get you and look at you, Whitey, and anybody in this room right now and anybody out there listening or watching is surround yourself around people that are better than you.
That's the catalyst, right? If there's anything you can't do is surround yourself by people that are worse. We're going to take you down a different path, man. And it's, I think that's a consistency within this podcast. It's like people are being them. And it's really hard in this society. You get pulled in so many different ways, but like, this is all I got.
Yeah.
But I got to stay true, and it's really hard and I don't do a great job at it, but when you keep it that simple, it's kind of fun.
Simple is, I'm coaching a couple people on simplicity. Simplicity is fun. Simplicity could win. It could work, and it doesn't always have to be spread with a buckshot.
Well, it also gives you the ability to grow when you have the simplicity of things you focus on, right? So when you talk about all these habits, it's like, I'm not smart enough, I'm not talented enough to be good at a lot of things, right? And I don't think a lot of people are, right? And so when you load your plate with all these other hobbies like we talk about, like, I think that stunts growth instead of like it gives you the ability to like grow.
I think we should do another show about
give me a reason.
Like honestly, like the no hobby act. I'm telling you, I've been in the business a long time, and I run through a lot of different characters through a day, through a week, through a month, through a year. You show me a guy with 2 or more hobbies, and I'll show you a guy out of shape.
Yeah.
Let's go. Let's see where they are.
And issues across the spectrum, right? I mean,
Or settling. You know, people that going through the motions. Are you kidding me?
I don't get it. How can you wake up happy?
I wouldn't.
How can you look yourself in the mirror?
I'd rather sit on a sword.
And maybe that's the difference. Maybe that's the normalcy within this gym, but meaning the abnormalcy of this gym. That's my fear. I can remember when I first was hired by someone. They asked me, "How much do you want to make? What's your number?" I'm like, "Not giving it to you." "Why are you going to give it to me?" "I don't know." You can tell me 400, 4 million. What? Not happy, because that's settling. If I give you my number, that means I've already settled at some point. I'm not settling.
I love that.
That's my deep thought for the day,
dude. That's yeah. What is that new? Yeah, the TED Talk. I've been listening to that on what the hell's a TED Talk?
It's a 10-minute focus talk.
Is that what that is?
I think it's on an expert in the field. 10 minutes.
Well, we just got one from the man, the myth, the legend, B. Whitey, Brian White. Thank you so much. You know how much I love you.
Yeah, I love you too, man.
Man, don't get me. Yeah. Don't get me, man. I'm old now. I cry a lot, man. All right?
We got a lot of good memories, man.
I love you, man. Thank you for coming by and giving me the time.
Dude, the fact that you asked me in here, I cannot tell you. You can ask Aaron how pumped I was.
Oh,
it's special to be in here. It's special to be allowed to be in here. Dude, this is I think you have to be selfish in life to be good for other people, right? And I think you have to be right in life to be good father, parent, And as much as it is a struggle as for me to come in, and my kids are here right now, and not to see them, but I needed this. I needed to see you. I needed to be in the gym. I needed to talk. It was awesome.
I know, and sometimes I got to yell at him and give him a dad lecture, you son of a bitch, you got to make more time. Can we please see a weekend, because he's grinding so, he embraces the grind so much. It's don't forget about the little people.
It's not little people. It's my family, man.
That's what he goes to right there, man. He gets a little hot. I love it.
No, I'm saying that you're my family.
Well, no. I'm glad I was very excited for you to come in yesterday, and I'm so glad the bed was made and the food was out. It was amazing. And I'm battling a gluten bout from swollen bowels from a shrimp and grits place. I'm not going to name the restaurant, but don't go there. All right. Coop's just looking at me going, this guy is nuts. All right. I love you.
Love you too, man.
Thanks.